For all the talk about nuclear war with Russia, which is greater than it's been since 1962, and is a real possibility that could absolutely wipe us out, there's a bigger threat: China. I am more concerned still, as yet, about China than I am Russia, although Russia is nothing to put aside. Putin is something to ponder, but we got to worry also about what's in the east over yonder. Guys, China is going to be the biggest threat to the United States for the next 10 to 20 years. There will be a point, if we can avoid war with either side, then this threat, I think, will subside, although they will still be a nation with nuclear weapons and still be formidable, even if they get aged and their economy becomes decrepit, kind of like North Korea. We have to respect North Korea, the hermit kingdom, poor as they are, just because they're armed to the teeth. So you can't ignore these nations when they are armed to the teeth with weapons that could wipe us out. That said, think about this. China just had its party Congress. They have reelected Xi Jinping as chairman of the Communist Party and president of China. Chairman of the Communist Party, in their minds, being the higher two, but president is the title that they can project to the world. So that means a lot to people over here. Oh yeah, he's the head of the country. Oh yeah, definitely. He is the head of the country, the most powerful person in China since Mao Zedong, and he aspires to be more powerful yet than Mao Zedong. He views Mao Zedong's failure as being the ability to take Taiwan. Notice I did not say reunify, because Taiwan has never been under the Chinese Communist Party control. Never. Their government pre-existed the Chinese Communist Party, being the Republic of China versus which is Taiwan, which pre-existed the People's Republic of China. That said, here's what we need to think about. The plan. China's had a plan, a long-term plan. And this plan hatched before their big industrial revolution, I would say, because I have heard intel that talked about China's plan to build up, to industrialize, because they realized they didn't have the might to take on the West, to take on Taiwan and change their other ambitions where they were. But they have gotten there, my friends. So we're going to go all into that. Right now, guys, if you're not prepping, you're not even thinking. Hey, if you're nothing else, get an extra can of soup, bag of rice when you get to the grocery store. If that's all you can afford, do that every chance you get. That's just one more thing. Buy some seeds, though. Let's go prep. Always go to my link to Trillium Market. My man and guys are prepping right now. I want to encourage you to consider. We got a 20% off a 3-month supply of food that lasts 25 years, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Go to prepwithgreg.com. Prepwithgreg.com. It's a great deal. There's other supplies there, and this stuff can carry you through, and it's easy to bug out with. That's what I like about it. It's easy to store, easy to bug out with. I got mine. Get yours. So let's go prepwithgreg.com. So let's go into this, guys. Here it is. China's plan all along was to industrialize and then solidify, so that it would be in a better position to obtain their political objectives. Now, it was always possible that their objectives would have changed along the way. That's what the West hoped for. The West had really hoped that if we traded with China and we opened up to them, and they would become more westernized, become more like us, and all the threat would just blow away, and they would just become another Western style nation that happened to be in China with Chinese culture, Chinese characteristics. And it didn't quite work that way. Didn't quite work, because they were still on the Chinese Communist Party, and the party name might be a bit of a misnomer. Should be probably Chinese. What's that word that starts with the F and is the atheist? Yeah, gotta be careful what I say on this platform. But think about it. The principal thing about China is they consider the Chinese Han to be the superior people of the world. A master race, if you will. Oh yeah. Look what they're doing. The Uyghurs, genocide. Look how they're promoting nationalism. Let's see, national socialism. What is that? Communism, right? No, what? Go back. Look at this. What was National Socialist Party called? Huh? Can y'all answer me that? I probably couldn't even say it on this platform. But go back and look. Look at history. Look it up. National Socialist Party. Go look that up if you don't know what that means. But anyway, all that said, guys, they got a plan. And now that Xi Jinping is just been appointed emperor for life, dictator for life, he would say all is proceeding according to plan. There's that old adage about the best laid plans of mice and men, and no good plan survives first contact with the enemy. No plan of war. All right, so that's what you got to pay attention to. But they've been planning for a long time, and they plan the work and they want to work the plan. Now, a lot of people say, well, Greg, China's failing. They invested in the economy. They had a big Ponzi scheme with real estate. That may all been part of the plan. Because what did it do? It now enabled them to expand. It enabled them to obtain influence around the world on their barred against, ill-gotten gains that they had. They stole stuff from everywhere on the planet, and they built industrial base and a military. And now that with the industrial base, they continue to build that military. And what's happened in the last several months? Xi Jinping has been shutting down industries, consolidating power. People like Jack Ma, who was the richest man in China, who come up with Alibaba. Well, he happened to be a guy who could think for his own, and that was just not to be permitted under the CCP rule of Xi Jinping. So what happened is that Xi Jinping went after all the big industry giants, all the titans, the billionaires, the people who might be able to have a voice that might say something other than what Xi Jinping wants, something other or maybe outside of the CCP domain. They made sure none of these people would be able to do that. But furthermore, they actually shut down some of their industries, entertainment related and things like China had an industry that was like $1 trillion a year. They just shut it down. And then they got all the lockdowns. Maybe it's like the Great Reset, just with Chinese characteristics. Maybe this is all there to reset their economy from being a civilian-oriented economy to a military economy, which I think was their ultimate objective to start with. But Greg, how they trade, how blah, blah, blah. Well, think about North Korea. North Korea is one of the poorest dead-gum countries on earth. The satellite views of North Korea is a dark land. The lights all around it. But North Korea, no, maybe some campfires. You might see some lights in Pyongyang, but you just don't see lights in North Korea. It's dark. The people are impoverished. They're slaves. But they're told that Kim Jong-un is defending them from an imminent invasion by the United States, that he's the only thing that stands between them and being totally wiped out. So, and they only get news from him. So they have to believe him because that's all they ever hear, him and his party. So that's it, cult of personalities there and in China. And this is what you get when you get a one-party system. And communism only survives in a one-party system. There is no communist country that lasts long that's not a one-party system. And when the Chinese, or when communism take over, they know that. They make it a one-party system. Now, I think China started out as a communist country, but it's evolved into that other thing that I mentioned. But, it's not a whole lot of difference, really. Truly, they're both totalitarian states. And all I care about is freedom. All totalitarian is bad. And we got a whole lot of totalitarianism right here at home, more so than we should have with the state of deep, if you know what I mean, the set of reed they're trying to poke down our throat. So these are all things that I think we can work against. More on that later. Now let's get back to the subject at hand here. The subject at hand, the plan of the hand, Han people. So the plan of the Han. So what's happened here is that a lot of these industries have been shut down. The economy is being broken, but it's perfect. It's prime to retool things for a more war-footing practice. The peoples have lost a lot of the trade jobs, and maybe China goes, China's looking at this and going, hey, trade, we're going to get sanctioned anyway. When we go into this war plan, we're going to get sanctioned, so we might as well just prep for it right now. Get the people conditioned, get the country conditioned. Xi Jinping said he needed his people to be more independent. Well, this is one way to do it. But no matter what, the weak point of China is they're still going to rely on some exports, and they still got to rely on imports. Even their agriculture takes 5 times more inputs to make it successful than agriculture and most other countries on average in terms of fertilizers and so forth, because their soil is just not that great there, and they got a lot of people to feed. So a bushel of wheat or corn there costs a lot more than a bushel of wheat or corn anywhere else in terms of the production. and they don't store stuff worth a darn. You know, they took about half the world's food reserves, right? But their storage is mostly rotten grain. They're no good at storing things, no good at it. So it's not like the world still has all this stuff sitting in reserve, or even China for that matter. So Xi Jinping knows his time is short. He knows the demographics of China are against him in the long term over the next 10 or 20 years. A lot of people saying that China's going to fall in the next year or two because of the huge crises they've got in real estate and other things like that. But the people, but see, one, the real estate crises here in America in 2008 brought us down. It was all in the news. Everybody reacted to it. They quit trading the stock market. They quit doing this, quit doing that. Over there, if you talk against the system, you get put in jail. They come get you, they haul you away. So most of the people don't even know. So they'll keep trading and doing what they're doing. So there's not going to be the kind of reaction and immediate market fall in China that you might have here in the West. So even though they're heading down, it's not going to drop all at once like it happened here in 2008. At least I don't think it will. I could be wrong. But I think the response there will be different. I also got to bear in mind that under Mao Zedong, that, you know, he presided over the deaths of some up to 80 million of his own people, and the people didn't revolt. Now they've got a police state of internal security forces twice as big as their big military, and they got the cameras watching them. They got their cards, their little bug cards that they, you know, if the color turns, they can't travel, and the color gets turned. Sometimes by things that got nothing to do with tests. Just, oh, you know, theoretically, it's one of these things like maybe you pass close to somebody, but you know, people's cards are turning when they have a political viewpoint or some objective that don't quite match with the CCP. So you can see that the control there is almost evident. It's beyond just their digital currency. It's beyond their social credit score. They got all that. The digital currency is still not mature, but they got their social credit score. They got this card. Yeah, guys, the people in China are under the heavy thumb, but some of them are waking up, and that thumb can totally be resisted and overcome. But the people of the world have to wake up for it to happen. I'll cover that in another video. Stay tuned, that's coming. But get back to the subject here. The Chinese plan for war. They're set their economy up for war. They're retrenching everything. Just take a look at what Xi Jinping's been doing over the past several months. He really is literally retrenching his economy, restructuring his country to be on a war footing. They have conditioned their people mentally. They've been talking about it. They've been telling them the United States is attacking them. They literally have. It's in the media. You know, they have been getting their people ready, and they, you know, all the propaganda, you know, there is aimed toward how bad we are. It's kind of like North Korea. It's getting worse than what it used to be. Now there are Chinese people coming here in the United States, and they know better. You know, maybe they can take it back, but they can't talk loud over there. They can't talk long. The social media is controlled. But, you know, at least some of them that have been over here know better. On the other hand, though, all our institutions are infiltrated by Chinese. This is one of the advantages they have over the Russians, the old Soviet Union. They have bought farmland near all of our major military bases, especially our strategic ones, our comm centers. Oh, yeah. Isn't that interesting? Why do we like so much to buy farmland in those specific places and areas? They got a lot of people here. If you think, well, a military base, they can't take any military. Man, I'll tell you what, a Mexican drug cartel could take over an army base. Oh, great, they got all these weapons on armies. Really? You ever went into an army base? What you got? You got gate guards with little, you know, six bangers, pea shooters on their sides. And if anything came at them, they'd run like scalded dogs, deputy dogs. I don't mean to demean them. I had a brother-in-law who worked for base security, but you know, they are just set there to provide security at the gate. That's it. You know, that's their job. It's not to defend the place. There's a few MPs running around the base, but they're, you know, we assume that our military bases are safe and secure. And, you know, they're not, you know, some of them may named a fort like Fort Bragg, which I used to be stationed at, Fort Hood. They're really just a base. They're not a fort. There's no fortifications around it. No parapets, no moats, no walls. There's no guns lined up around pointing out. You know, you can't even carry a firearm on a military base. They're gun-free zones. Okay, so how do they get it? Yeah, they have to issue weapons to go to ranges and ammo at ranges, and troops have to give their ammo back after they leave the range. So yeah, you're allowed to fire your military weapon when you're on the range. Maybe for a setup live fire exercise, training exercises. I know I used to be an armorer at Fort Bragg. I issued weapons. This was umpteen years ago. Back then, we didn't have the bans they got today, you know, thanks to President Obama. So yeah, he really drilled down on that. Think about that. So, you know, that's why you get a lot of these mass bang bangs on military bases, because they're gun-free zones. Gun-free means it's a target of opportunity for those that wish mayhem, the idiots, the crazy people out there. Unfortunately, yeah, we need to make some changes in these regards. But that said, guys, I digress again. But what I'm talking about, the Chinese having facilities in their military bases. A lot of this may be just to record communications. So I would say that China now knows, and, you know, loose lips sink ships. Thanks, President Joe B, for telling them that we are absolutely going to defend Taiwan. You know, strategic ambiguity had its place. It had its purpose. And not telling them that meant they didn't know. But now that they know, which they suspected already and had made plans for, but now their plans are going to be more and more set in stone. It's been said by many that their first, before they attack Taiwan, they're going to attack us. Now, they may blockade Taiwan first. They may be building up a force to invade. But it's been suggested that their plans are actually to attack our military bases, Guam, Japan, and maybe even South Korea. They may let little Kim take care of that action for them. But they're planning to attack our military bases over there. If they attack our bases over there, that might be the end of the war, especially if they were to EMP us. Then they could turn around and say, okay, America, if you want to do anything else, we got all these, you've been EMP'd, you're structurally down. If you want to fight us, we'll start taking out your cities. And chances are we're not going to have submarines that can respawn, because the super EMPs that they would send out would fry the comms links and enable those submarines to fire their weapons. The submarines cannot fire their weapons unless they have a verified, validated emergency action message, EAM. They got to get the message, and then they got to get the validation of the message. It means the comm systems have to be working. The secure comm systems, secure encrypted comm systems have to be working. After a super EMP, that's questionable, especially if they take out the satellites like they're said to want to do. So their strategy, I've been told, is to take out our satellites, use EMP, take out our forces in the region, and then use their nukes to hold everything else hostage. And they may even do a first strike on our nukes here. And then we're really dead in the water. That's a possibility. They could do that. And that would mean it would start out as a nuclear war. Let's hope that don't happen. But if they did that, then they might just sit back and say, hey, Taiwan, we're going to blockade you. Ain't nobody going to come to you to do defense. You're going to have nothing. You're going to starve. So just surrender. Just dump your hands and surrender. And oh yeah, by the way, then we can just walk in and take over your chip making factories. Now that might be China's strategy. That is not a theory that I come up with myself, believe it or not. That may well be their strategy. That has been reported from others who claim that that is China's strategy. And I don't know, guys. I don't know. How far would they take it? Would they do all that? Time remains to see. Our strategy should be to take steps that would discourage them from doing things like that. Having enough forces, being able to defend our forces, having adequate missile defense for our forces in the area, securing our grid, securing our comm systems, making ourselves less vulnerable. Problem is we have an Achilles heel that's highly well known and very exposed, and we don't do a darn thing to stop it, like hardening our power grid, which I've been really rallying for years on end, to include chairing 2 power grid defense conferences. Guys, we've got to get this country safe, secure. Yeah, we need to build more nukes. We need, because we're not on parity to be able to take on Russia and China. We don't even have what Russia has, and probably not what China has. I don't believe the numbers we have at China, because those numbers have been set in stone for decades, and yet they've got all these facilities to keep producing stuff. So yeah, I bet, wink, 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 they've been making a whole lot all along. But see, we're not in there like we were in Russia. We're not having inspectors all over China seeing what they got, because we don't have a treaty with them like that. And Russia, China does not want a treaty like that. That's why, because they want to build what they want to build. And now we see them building missile silos, hundreds of them. And these are silos that have missiles. Or that missile they want to put in there, DF-21, I believe, can have several MIRV warheads on it. And you combine that with the ones that got road mobile. Yeah. So China thinks they can fight and win a war with the United States. And the Sims that we have done, we've lost all these wars and all those Sims. Our strategy should be to not have a war with China, to back off. If we had to, blockade them. If China wants to take Taiwan, it's okay. If you do that, we're going to blockade you. We'll starve you out. You're going to pay dearly. And blockade could lead to war, but it's not quite the same. It's considered an active war, quite actually. But it's a little different, unless they decide to nuke us. But then they should know that we're already on alert. And we need to get rid of this policy that Clinton put in effect that claims that we will only launch after we absorb the first strike. That's lunacy. Lunacy. And we need to be more prepared for that EMP super weapon to sneak up out of Venezuela or somewhere, so we wouldn't really know who launched it at us. We got to put eyes to the south. We need Aegis ashore missile defense station in the panhandle of Florida, maybe lower Alabama. We need stuff like that to defend us from our soft underbelly in these United States of A. Taking the right precautions, we could dissuade the enemies or potential enemies from wanting to strike us. There's a lot of good people in China. Man, I've met a lot of people from over there that I think the world of. I've not been to China, but I have dated women from China. I have been to Russia though, and I think the people. It's insane that we should be pitted against each other. We've got more in common than not. There's more reason not to fight than there is reason to fight, except the government's stirred us up against each other. So my friends, Xi Jinping is planning for war. He is setting it up. He's putting his country on a war footing. He plans to take Taiwan sooner than later. We've got some admirals just talking about that. I'm not citing news articles today. I'm just talking to you today. I actually tried to do this video about 2 or 3 weeks ago, walking in the woods, and discovered my SD card filled up. So I'm just laying it on the line to you. This is mano to the ladies too. I'm just putting it out here, guys, telling you what is. China is planning for war. They're putting everything on the war foot. And I've seen this coming. I've been up for some time. Like I said, I wanted to tell you about this 2 or 3 weeks ago, but then all this stuff started coming with Russia, all this other news, and I just thought I'd put this off. But here it is, guys. China is planning for war. Batten your hatches. Get ready. It don't have to happen. Russia is in a war. We are a participant through supply. Russia knows that. They don't like it. It could escalate. We could get into it directly with Russia. We don't need that either. We don't need that either. Is Ukraine worth World War III? Some people say it is, and they say Russia is totally bluffing, and how could we not support them? Other people who are taking Putin's side. So I don't want to take either side here. I'm just putting it out here to you guys that whatever side you take or don't take, we're at risk of war. We are at risk of war. More so than any time since I was 2 years old. Yeah, October, by the way, October 1962, October 2022. Yeah, I need to come back and talk about this Russian thing with both sides talking about having damned mind or planning to attack this dam. That's also a bridge that produces power across the Dnieper River that have blown up would flood huge portions of Ukraine. They're talking about the equivalent of nuclear war and the destruction of a dam. Guys, and the way they're talking, this could happen immediately. So this is going to be a subject for another videotape, another show, and that and some other stuff for Ukraine. But I'm tired of talking about Russia and Ukraine. I'm really wanting y'all to know about China. We can't keep our eyes off China, my friends. If we can avoid war, give us time, the United States, this land, whether it's the United States or we break up into many countries, we'll still be way ahead over other countries because our demographics are not that bad here. And we got resources, we got rivers, unless Poseidon torpedoes deny smaller coastal areas. If that happens, we're toast. We're toast. That's why we don't need a war with Russia, guys. That's why we don't need a war with Russia. Is it worth the risk? Seriously? Is it worth the risk? Really, seriously. Anyway, my friends, hard times are coming. The economy is going down. Many sources are saying, all the billionaires are now saying, hey, the economy is going down. They're all saying we're going to be in a recession. Typically, recessions when your GDP drops for like 2 straight months below a certain level. We've been there, but they've redefined the recession. So we're apparently about to hit the new redefined recession. So I can't say we're in a recession. I can't say that. So I didn't say that. Wink, wink, wink. But we're heading towards some challenging times. That I can't say. We're heading for challenging times. And there's just so many things coming at us right now, my friends. Prep, get ready, do whatever you can. But first and foremost, be ready inside with your maker, with yourself and your family and your friends. And don't forget that there are good people everywhere in the world. We're being played against each other. So the more you can get out and change the message by shining your love light in the world, the better off we'll all be. Oh yeah, by the way, check out my new Swivel Head News channels. I got one on YouTube, which I've just been doing funny poetry. That's political though, but it's just funny. And then there's the channel on Rumble. I'm taking my sleeves off and laying it out there, my friends. Swivel Head News. Check it out. Links will be below. Thank you for watching, and Greg out.